Hello. In this lesson, we're going to speak about the one of the most important nodes of 3D. That is the extrude node. The extrude permits make extrusion of a selected area using different methods. Now we're going to start with the simplest method of all. Let's start defining a sketch for this extrusion. We're going to use the classic compass sketch of 10 by 10 units. And now we're going to perform an extrusion on this sketch. We're going to start using by amount. That is the simplest way to perform an extrusion. That you just have to select how many units you want to extrude the area. I will select 10 units, and the result is this. Of my starting area, my sketch, I perform an extrusion of, as you can see on the lower left corner, 10 units. This is the simplest way of making an extrusion. Just input the value of your extrusion and that's it. Now, as other instructions in 3D, you can introduce variations. I can add a range of 20 in a step of 2, for example. And let's see the results. Now I have different extrusions between 10 and 20 units. Okay? Now, other thing that I can make is using a variable for this value. Let's define a variable here. I will define a variable like age, and I will say that age will be from 5 to 15 in the step of 1. That's it. And I will use this variable using this switch here. I can select my variable and use it as my extrusion value. Okay, as you can see, now is making extrusions between 5 and 15 as my variable was defined. Other thing that I can make here is, instead of using a variable, I can use an expression. For example, I can use the variable age and add 20 units. Now the result will be extrudes between 25 and 35 units, because age, the variable age, was between 5 and 15. Now I got 25 and 35 because I added 20. Yes, you can use expressions in many parts of 3D instructions. Other thing you can add to this extrude, as you can see, the bottom of the extrude is hollow. You can add a bottom. You can close that bottom just simply selecting here, close. You select yes, and now you have a bottom for your extrude. This may be necessary in some parts of your project. The other method you can use to perform your extrude is using a profile. Let's start defining a profile. Here you can start using your profiles. You add the profile here and name it profile. Okay, here in this editor, this is the profile editor, you can draw your profile simply using this coordinate axis. Your profile, here I will draw a profile with a segment of 3 meters and maybe some other segment like this, and I will close my profiles here. Now we're going to apply this profile to our extrude, and I will change the method here. I will say fixed profile, and I will select my profile, and this will be the result. Now the whole extrude takes the shape of the profile you provide. Now in the profile you can make many different operations. Let's see the profile again. First of all, you can add some interpolation the same way that you can make in the input node. You can add interpolations here too. If I select this segment, I will add an interpolation, and I will extend this segment like this part of the profile like this, and the result will be different shapes between the first and the last shape I provide in the interpolation. As you can see, this is the result. If I give another render, see, that is a way to add variations in your profile. Now, what else can I do with our profile? Another thing another thing I can do is make a repeat. I will, for example, I want to repeat here. I want a repetition of this profile that starts. Let me change something here. I will add a node here, and I will make a repetition that starts here and end. Here I will repeat this portion of my profile. How many times? For example, 5 times. Okay? Now the result will be this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I repeat my profile 5 times. If you don't want to repeat the whole profile, you can repeat only a part of the profile. I will remove this, and again I will start here and end here. Only this part will be repeatable 5 times. I'll save, and this is the result. As you can see, we got a whole part here and half part here. Repeat only a part of the profile. In the profile, I also can make curves. For example, I can make this segment a curve, and I also can configure the segments of that curve that in the Extrude will be faces, but the segment, maybe I will say 0.2 meters, and adjust by axis. And now this is the segments here that become faces. If I reduce that segments to 0.05, I have a smoother surface, but I have more polygons. The profile also can be modified, adding more nodes here, for example, or I can erase nodes like this. I can modify my profile. And the last thing I can do with my profile is adding variables to each segment. That is, for example, I will define some variables. I will say H2 and B2. My H will be from 6. My B will be 2. And I will assign these variables to the segments of the profile. Let me erase this. I will say this part will be here, the length of this segment will be H2, the length of this segment will be B2, and this length will also be 2. Now, as you can see, 6 meters, this is the length of that I assign H2 6, and this is B2 that will be a length of 2 units. I can add variations with that variable from 6 to 9 in the step of 1, and from 2 to 3 in the step of 1, for example, and I will have variations in my geometry. I can add variables to the length, to the angle between this segment and the horizontal, or with I can add variables to the height or the width. The height or the width are the variations in the x, in the y and the x axis of coordinates. Other thing that is important here is to label the segments of the profile in order to make reference of them and make different operations in each part of your extrude. Here in the profile, you can, let me use again the flat. I will add labels to the different parts of my profile. Here. And this is the result. Now, your profile will have different labels in every part. Now, in order to make reference to that part, the extrude have different outputs. The output makes reference to every part of the profile. Let me first make a modification here. I will undo the repetition. Now we have this. As I said, the output makes reference to every face in the profile. If I make a rename as north, it will rename every part of the extrude, including the bottom and the top. Now, the cap only make reference to the top side of the profile, like this. This is my cap, because my profile ends here. This is my cap. So you can see my bottom. This will be this part. This is my bottom. And then we have the sides. The sides of the profile will be the rest of part. Not, this is the bottom, this is the cap, and the rest are the sides. Of course, you can select it. For example, east, and rename it. This is the result. One last thing I like to talk about in this lesson is about the one seat each and one seat for all configuration. That is a property that you can find in some of the 3D instructions, and works like this. Let's import a new variation for this model. I will add an input 2, and I will use a DXF, this one, this DXF that have 25 areas. Now, in those areas, I'm going to perform first an inset, and then an extrusion of amount from 10 to 20 units in a range of 2. Okay? The result will be the following. Let me now. The result will be the following. The extrusion performs in every of the 25 areas the same extrusion with the same height. Every time you press give me another, you will have the same extrusion in every area. But you can select, by default, you have in this advanced, you have one seat for all. If you selected one seat each, it will perform a different extrusion in this range in every area. As you can see, now you have different extrusions in every area. That's important. That configuration, you can find it in many of the 3D instructions, and you can randomize the execution of your instruction when multiple areas are selected. That's all for this lesson. In the next lesson, we'll be talking about the merge node. So, goodbye.